You know, what's funny is I didn't play golf growing up at all. Just thought it was a boring sport that my dad would sometimes watch on the weekend. It wasn't until I had gotten into high school that I needed to get a summertime job because my high school sweetheart at the time got pregnant. Just a sophomore going into junior year, terrified as could be, didn't know what the heck to do. So I thought, golf course sounds kind of interesting, seeing what they had options. So I looked online and saw that they had cart attendants and, that they wash clubs, clean carts, pick the range, different things like that. So I was like, that sounds like something fun and interesting. Ended up graduating high school and didn't know what I wanted to do in a sense. So golf kind of opened up its doors in a sense and allowed me to kind of see the different opportunities that I had. And are you going to go to college, or you want to do that? I mean, what are you thinking of, what do you want to do with your life? And that kind of made me really sit down and think, is this something, do I really want to pursue this? I've never played it. I've never been a part of it. Is this, something I can really do? So, after mulling it, praying about it for quite a while, I ended up deciding to, go full bore into it. And, I got my PGA status, I guess you could say, so where I actually started playing in pro events as a pro.
All right, welcome back to the Rain Brings Growth podcast. My name is Matt Sidwell. We're at Damian Short today. He's a local PGA pro. He's taught me everything I know, got me to break 80 in golf, so can't wait for you guys to hear from him. How's it going, Damian?
Hey, how's it going, man? Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man, it's going to be sweet. I've wanted to get you on for a minute. I've just been trying to get all the ducks in a row first and make sure we got some good quality going.
It's all good. Yeah, we're all, it's part of life. We're all kind of get our ducks in a row and things come up, families, life, work, all of it. So,
yeah.
At least we got it worked out and scheduled coordinated and, took till December. That's usually when my downtime is because, got to love Idaho and golf weather in December.
Right.
Nosedives pretty much.
I feel like since Topgolf came in, golf's got way more popular.
Yeah, Topgolf has definitely been a huge positive thing for the Valley, I believe. We think, personally, I think we need more golf courses in this valley just because of the growth that we've had in this valley overall has just been huge. So everybody's wanting to do something out recreationally, and golf is a huge way to do that. If you have the time to do it, that's one of the kind of downsides of golf is it takes 2 hours for 9 or 4 for 18, and that's if it's a decent pace, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it is time consuming in a sense, but Topgolf has definitely been a positive thing coming into the valley and bringing people more excitement, more, the beginner golfers are now excited because they're hitting balls and now they can take it to the golf course and, apply it. And, that's where I can kind of come in and help kind of guide them, teach them, all that kind of stuff. Kind of get into their golf careers, I guess you could say.
And that was the other nice thing about COVID too, was golf was allowed to keep going.
Yeah. They shut it down for about 2 days or so and then realized, hey, we can actually be outdoors and, can easily space each other because, you got, for our golf course, you got 220 acres that you can be out in the outdoors and not near anybody and still have a good time and play and whatnot. So it's an individual game. It's you can play with friends and whatnot, but again, you're out there and having a good time.
You were telling me that you guys were setting some records during COVID, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. Yep. So, we averaged, high 30,000s rounds or something like that. But then once COVID hit, we saw a huge tick up, almost 10,000 plus rounds. Golf in general saw about a 18% growth in 2020. And it's just kept that way since then. And it's just been huge. So again, it's just, the popularity of the sport, people are watching it more, seeing it more, televised and that kind of thing. I think it's just brought in a lot of growth for golf in general.
Yeah, I know just when I started selling the golf clubs, I was getting a lot of new beginner, and I felt like I hit it at like a prime time, I feel like, but it was crazy just seeing how many new people. It was cool just to see too. Like they didn't care. They just want to go out with their buddies. And then they start getting into the score later on. But
and I think that's what people are starting to realize. Golf is not just necessarily, you have to be this rich, really good guy to go out and play golf. You can be a beginner and be someone that, has never played the game before and can pick it up and just go challenge yourself. It's a game that requires perfection. And that's what I think people find it frustrating is because, you're trying to hit this little tiny ball that's taunting you on the ground and you have to hit it straight, 500 yards into a tiny little hole. That's not as easy as it sounds. And, it requires, again, like I said, perfection. And it's very difficult to do. So it's good to challenge yourself kind of, it's a lifetime sport. People will be playing this thing all the way up to their 70s, 80s, 90s if you're lucky. And, golf's greatest dream is to shoot your age. So,
right.
Play as long as you can.
Yeah, that's the coolest thing too is that like I could go out with a brand new person and we could be equal because I can give them strokes.
Correct, yeah.
It's like one of the only sports that you can actually it doesn't matter how long you've been playing. You
Yep.
can make it an equal playing field. Obviously, you'll still have some advantage if you know what you're doing versus someone that doesn't, but
Yeah.
you can still give them that handicap, which is a cool thing.
Yeah, and that's a handicap is a huge thing. Again, hopefully people are keeping up their integrity and posting honest scores. But if they are, you should be able to take, myself being a, almost a scratch golfer, and you and me can go out and play golf and have a very close match and have an enjoyment between the two of us versus it just being a golfer good or a better golfer and, going out there and I'm guaranteed to beat you. But now with strokes being added and all that kind of stuff, it now makes it more of a competitive match and more fun in a sense.
Yeah. Well, Damian, you got one of the coolest stories when it comes to getting into golf. So let's just hit it from there. What was your childhood like? Where did you grow up?
So, one of the rarities around here in Boise, I was a local born and raised Idaho boy here in Boise, Idaho. Grew up in the North End. Grew up in, like I said, North End Boise. Went to Lowell Elementary, Hillside Junior High. Graduated from Capitol High School. Didn't really, what's funny is I didn't play golf growing up at all. Just thought it was a boring sport that my dad would sometimes watch on the weekend, or he'd take me to the range when I was, 9 or 10, and we'd smack it around. And I just thought it was the most boring thing in the entire world. I grew up playing football and basketball, and that was more my love and, sports and athleticism I thought would flourish. But it wasn't until I had gotten into high school that I needed to get a summertime job because my high school sweetheart at the time got pregnant. So time to step up as a man, get a job.
Yeah.
And here we are, ended up graduating high school and didn't know what I wanted to do in a sense. So golf kind of opened up its doors in a sense and allowed me to kind of see the different opportunities that I had. And Ron over at Crane Creek just allowed me to see a bunch of different opportunities, learn so much. And, I was blessed to be up there for about 12 years. And before I ended up actually getting a head pro job over at River Birch before that.
Yeah. So when you were in how old were you when you had your first kid?
So I was 16 when I had my first child. Yep. So just a sophomore going into junior year, terrified as could be, didn't know what the heck to do. Couldn't even tell my parents for the first, 2 or 3 months at least, just because, how do you break that to your parents when you're supposed to, be going to school and doing what you're supposed to? And here I am now about to bring another life into this world. So definitely a terrifying feeling for sure.
How'd you land on working on the golf course?
So again, just randomly. So my mom actually worked at a preschool that was right around the corner from Crane Creek. And, she was asking me, when I needed to get a job, like, what kind of job are you looking to want to do? And I was like, well, I never really wanted to do fast food. I never really wanted to, take a bunch of orders and kind of do the fast thing all the time and waiting tables or busing. That never really interested me either. So I thought, a golf course sounds kind of interesting, seeing what they had options. So I looked online and saw that they had cart attendants and, that they wash clubs, clean carts, pick the range, different things like that. So like, oh, that sounds like something fun and interesting, random to do kind of thing, but a good first, job, I guess. So randomly just walked in, took my, little resume into Ron, and luckily, by the glory of God, was able to get the job and, got in there, and, that's kind of how the golf career began.
Yeah,
Some
that's cool.
15-and-a-half-year-old punk just
Yeah.
walking in off the street.
Yeah. And so that goes, that's pretty much a summer job. You didn't work during the wintertime there, right?
No, because again, I played football and basketball. So
you were still playing during this whole time too?
Correct, yeah. So I still tried playing, I was going in the summer times to offense, defense camp and for football because I was really trying to get a scholarship, really close to it, but, political things ended up falling through. But yeah, I played, sports all through wintertime, worked on the weekends, go to school Monday through Friday. Then I'd work every Saturday and Sunday. And then when I didn't have season, I'd go in and help Ron with whatever was needed, reorganize the bag room, all that kind of stuff, which again was another blessing that I had for Ron because he knew with my situation of having a kid, I needed money. I needed, something coming in on a continuous basis for me to be able to, support him.
Yeah, Ron's a really cool dude. I only got to know him for a couple of years, but yeah, he was really willing to work with me. Like if I had scheduling issues working at the prison or something, or we had, things pop off and I was like, hey man, I'm covered in OC right now or something, he's like, yeah, you're good, man.
Incredible man. Very,
really cool.
Very personable, very knowledgeable. And, actually kudos to him. He actually retired this last year. So he's
awesome.
Hanging it up for at the end of this month and, going to enjoy his retirement.
Yeah, that's sweet. That's cool to be able to do something your whole life that you love to do.
Yeah. And that's, again, one of the things I kind of always thought about as I kind of kept getting into golf and not sure where, even after I graduated high school, looking into college options and stuff like that. I didn't want to do something with my life that I hated doing. I never wanted to go work 40 hours and be like, oh, I got to go to work again. I never liked that. Never wanted to have that feeling for myself. So at least when I went to golf and, started getting more into it, I realized that there's a lot of different things that go on, even though sometimes it's the same thing. We're checking people in and answering phone calls. For me, I get to teach lessons. I get to go down and, plan a tournament. I get to, go out and marshal the golf course. I get to go stand behind the counter and check people in. So there's a variety of things I get to do within the position itself. So it kind of fulfills that.
Yeah. So when did you actually start golfing?
So I didn't start taking it seriously probably until about, I would say, a year or two after high school. So I would say
Really?
18 or 19 is when I actually.
So you didn't golf any time in high school? You weren't like high school team or nothing?
Nope, didn't play high school golf, nothing like that. Just played football and basketball solely through high school. Like I said, thought golf was the boringest. I worked at the golf course, but I was like, this is boring. I mean, I didn't utilize my employee privileges at all, just because I thought it was, I just didn't find it enjoyable at all. And plus, it was difficult. I'd go out and try to hit a ball on the range when I would have some free time, and you top it and shank it, and go all over the place. You're like, this is just stupid, whatever.
Right.
So, but yeah, again, after you graduate, not sure what you want to do, and you pick it up and learn more about it, it's really an incredible.
Did Ron give you any grief for not golfing when you're like?
Little bit, not too much. Again, Ron knew me from my beginning, knowing my situation, having a kid. He knew I was all football and basketball, so he was just more being supportive, I think, of me in general. I think he wanted, me to play as much golf as I could, but I didn't think he knew that I didn't find like that. That was my passion, I guess you could say.
So you started golfing, and then at one point, did you want to take this to the next level?
So that was probably, probably 2010, maybe 2011, a couple years after, again, high school. There was an opportunity where one of the assistants from Crane left, and Ron had presented me a position to step into that role. He's basically said, are you going to go to college, or you want to do that? I mean, what are you thinking of, what do you want to do with your life? And that kind of made me really sit down and think, is this something, do I really want to pursue this? I've never played it. I've never been a part of it. Is this, something I can really do? So, after mulling it, praying about it for quite a while, I ended up deciding to, go full bore into it and, start learning, watching other pros teach, play, all that kind of stuff, in a sense, self-taught. I mean, I obviously talk to other pros, try to learn, what they do right, what they do wrong, all that kind of stuff. So you kind of get a general idea. It's a science in a sense. So you know what's right, what's wrong, and you can kind of, improve upon there.
Yeah. What was your handicap about when you started to take it seriously?
Oh, I was probably a bogey golfer. I'd probably say 17, 18. I could go out and, get quite a few bogeys. I rarely get the birdies, to get quite a few pars. And then you'd, of course, have your doubles and triples and, snap. I had a bad slice. I mean, it was horrible and a half. I mean, I could hit it.
That from baseball?
Yards. No, I think it's just athletic. I didn't really play a whole lot of baseball.
Yeah, basketball and football. That's right.
Yeah.
I think that's a hard one for me because I played a lot of baseball. So I feel like I got that baseball kind of swing and wanted to swing out, and that's not.
And it's honestly, it's a baseball players. It's a great thing to be a baseball player and a golf because you actually load your power different than a lot of other players. You can actually hit the ball further. Now, how you can control that swing is a whole nother part because baseball, you load your power a little bit different than golf, and so therefore, when these comes to a swing, you got to make some changes to adjust for that. But that's a whole nother ballpark.
So you're a bogey golfer. What did you start doing to get yourself down to where you needed to be to take it to the amateur level?
So for me, where I started with was short game. For me, it was all putting and chipping because that's where golf I found to be played at. You got 18 holes that you're going out and playing. So, you hit your driver 14 times, maybe less. You hit your irons, your 8-iron 2-3 times. You hit your wedges, 6-7 times, whatever it is. But you use your putter, 30, 40 some odd times. So the fact that you use that club in the shorter part of the course more often on every single hole, I felt that to be more important in the game. So I felt like that's where I started really trying to hone in my feel, trying to feel, what a nice, consistent, small little pendulum swing is and, allows me to kind of keep a touch and allows me to feel, again, how far to hit a ball, hit a chip, hit a putt, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So did you just sign up for some amateur events just to get your,
No, so I didn't really have an amateur status, I guess you could say. I just kind of played recreationally. Once I became an assistant pro, I got my PGA status, I guess you could say, so where I actually started playing in pro events as a pro. So it allows me to, I guess, basically skip to my amateur status and became a professional in a sense.
Oh, nice. I was thinking you had to, qualify for stuff, and then.
So that's where that's where I had to qualify through my PAT when I went through the beginning portions of my schooling. You have to take a player's ability test where you have to play 36 holes in one day, and you have to shoot a target score. So depending on the course, and it depends on what score you have to shoot. But once you pass that ability and get into the program, now you're considered, you're basically a pro at that point.
Is that like you have to shoot scratch?
No, not necessarily. I think I want to say it's probably about a 7 or an 8 handicap, something like that. So it's not super low. They can't expect everybody to go out and be a scratch golfer.
They want you to break 80 pretty much.
But they pretty much want you to have some knowledge or some skill of the game, so that way you now have the ability to go out and teach it and all that kind of stuff. Because, again, they want somebody that's, somewhat skillful and being able to kind of, But, again, not all teachers are great players, though, too, because the game is so difficult. There's different ways of playing this game and seeing this game. And, there's a lot of great teachers that don't actually go out and play very well. Easier said than done type of thing.
How much schooling was it? I think you had to go to Florida, right?
So it was broken down. They've actually upgraded the program. So the PGM program that I went through was, so you basically have 3 different levels, level 1, 2, and 3. And then once you pass your level 3, you get your PGA Class A membership. So for me in the situation, you could get it done I've heard of guys getting it done as early as 2 years, 3 years, things like that. For me, it was about 5.5 years that I took. I was, again, under Ron. I wanted as much knowledge because the guy, he had been in the industry for, 25, 30 years. So he had nothing but knowledge and, the ability to teach me as much as I could. So I pretty much went every other year down to Florida to, kind of do each level, but I just wanted to take each year to kind of gain as much knowledge as I could from him, just being a, young pro, just not really knowing anything about the golf industry, just trying to learn from him as much as I could.
Yeah. Yeah. What goes on in that, is it a school down in Florida, you said?
Yep. So it's a school down in Florida. So they basically, they get together everybody that's interested in being a pro, they gather you up in a room and then they just do basically a big PowerPoint session. Going over every aspect of the golf industry from business planning, cart fleet management, turf grass, everything, human resources, customer relations, the works basically. So they go down there, usually go down for 1 week, a Monday through Friday session usually. And then, we're on the West Coast, so I got to travel on Saturday and Sunday and get back home. But Monday through Friday was our classes. So,
okay.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's some nice courses down there. It doesn't matter what time of year, you can always play in Florida. Right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Fortunately, I went in the winter time. It got dark at like 5:30. So once you got out of class at like 4:30, you really had only like a half hour to an hour to kind of go around. And I got hit the range quite a few times, which was really cool because they had basically like a half moon shaped one, so you could be kind of hitting balls at each other, but be super far away.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool.
They don't have any night courses down there?
I didn't see any.
I feel like those hot places need to have more night courses.
Oh, that'd be
fun. Sweet.
Mountain Home, I know, does the Mountain Home Desert Canyon does summertime. They do some night golf.
Really?
Over there from time to time, and during the summertime, I know that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I've never actually played in it, but I've seen pictures and people talking about it. And it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. I've seen the LED balls that you can do, those night ones. Never done any of those courses or those events before, but those are pretty cool. Oh, yeah. I think those balls don't fly the best, but
I think the experience, just seeing your ball flying out, kind of like everybody likes the shot tracer, like golf, so it's kind of like that idea of just seeing your ball flying up, and especially in the dark, how often you hit in the dark. So.
When did you start doing lessons?
So lessons I started probably around when I started level 1, probably 2012, 2013, just really trying to learn. Again, when I first started out giving lessons, I didn't feel comfortable giving lessons. I was really something for Ron to push me out and, just really start talking to a lot of the members at Crane Creek and just trying to figure out what can I teach and what do I feel comfortable, confidently instructing them on how to do. And so my first several lessons were with, several ladies that were on short game and, chipping and putting. Because again, that's where I started for myself and, felt like I felt pretty comfortable and, teaching them that. And then obviously you get more confidence as you teach more and seeing the, students react and, have a positive, impact on what you're telling them.
Positive feedback loop.
Yep.
You can just help them out and all of a sudden that slice is going away and you feel better because I'm no pro, but I've just helped people a little bit, like, just little things that you've taught me and I'll just like relay that and helps them. So it's cool because then they're like, oh, it's a positive feedback loop. But then the crappy part with golf is that like you can get one thing down and now you forget about another thing and you're like, what?
Yeah. Well, then it happens on a shot-to-shot basis too, because again,
Yeah.
you're using your driver to your iron, your wedge to your putter, and then you get to start back all over again. So you could hit 10 good drivers in a row, and then all of a sudden on the 11th hole or 12th hole, you've all of a sudden put one, 40 yards right. So again, it's a game of perfection. You're not always going to hit every shot perfectly, and that's, we'd like to think we will, but, it's also, again, adaptability. How can you go out on the golf course and change what you're doing and being able to kind of play to, Ben Hogan said it best, who can miss it the best, right? So if you're playing a 20-yard slice that day, play the 20-yard slice. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about changing it on the course and trying to all of a sudden hit a 10-yard draw when you've not hitting a 10-yard draw. You're just making yourself crazy. So.
Yeah. I think that's something that's really hard is you try and make changes on the course.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't put that time in at the practice range.
No. And that's actually, when I passed my PAT, I was trying to dial in my swing so hard because I knew I had to go play 36 solid holes and actually shoot a good round because I actually had to shoot 74, 75 to pass this. And on that, going into that event, I was playing a good 5 to 10 yard draw. Beautiful. Loved it. Could, control it. Played for about a month, solid. And then the morning of when I was going down and I was warming up for that morning round, I could not get the ball to draw at all. It would not go from right to left. I was trying to flip my hands, trying to hook it. It would not do it. It was literally a little 5-yard cut. The same feeling, I was trying to play the same draw, but it was a little 5-yard cut. So that day I just said, was like, you know what? I'm going to feel the same thing I've been feeling. It sucks that it's not a 10-yard draw that I'm wanting, but now it's going to be a 5-yard cut. And I played it, and by golly, it worked the entire round. Didn't even think about it. Worked out, passed it. Again, it just trusting to a certain point and making the same swing. But again, obviously you have to make some adjustments, like I said. But
when you're giving lessons, how do you coach the mental side of golf?
A lot of it for me is staying positive. I think golf, again, is such a sport that requires perfection. It's easy to get down on yourself, to get negative. I'm terrible at this game. This is not going to be easy. I'm never going to get it, that kind of stuff. So for me, you're one shot away from getting it. You're one shot away from getting the feeling of, okay, that's how golf should feel. And once you get that feeling once, now can you get it again within a relatively, 10 balls, 20 balls, whatever that range session is in that sense. So the more often you obviously get that feeling of hitting a good shot, now you're starting to develop a feel. You're starting to develop, okay, this is what I'm doing correct in the swing, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. How do you go when you're playing and just forget that last shot?
Yeah, that's tough to do. I think we can all look at Tiger Woods, who said it best. He takes 10 steps, thinks about it. Obviously, if you're in a golf cart, it's probably a little bit different situation. But, he takes 10 steps, thinks about, what he did wrong, what the heck was going on, yada, yada, yada. And then once he gets to that 11th step, it's gone. What's the next shot? What do I have to do? Well, how can I best plan and prepare for my next challenge that's upcoming? Because if I just wallow in what I just did and take that negativity, take that, bad feeling or whatever it is, and that slice or whatever I just hit to that next shot, I'm probably going to do it again. And so you got to get off of that negative, mindset and trying to get you of, hey, what can I control? What can I do? And we saw, obviously, that he was one of the greatest of when he hit a horrible shot, he'd recover like no others.
Yeah.
So.
Do you have any of those, what am I trying to think of, what was your best comeback shot? You have any that's, for me, I love hitting a nice flop shot over a big tree and just landing it right in the middle of the green. Those are always one of my favorites, but.
I'm trying to think. I think probably one of the best shots I probably ever hit, again, was up at Crane Creek, just a fun round. I've kind of hit a terrible drive short right into the trees on number 8. And I had to go low underneath some tree or through the trees, up over a bunker, and then it kind of went back down and up over another bunker. And I hit this beautiful 4-iron stinger that absolutely hit the perfectly middle of the bunker up next to the green, pops straight up, and it lands probably about a foot or so from the hole. So again, it's just a shot you don't ever expect to hit, and it was just one of those things. I could probably go out there and put a million balls and probably never do that thing again. So it's just one of those things that's a shot maybe that you can always remember and think back, and you can potentially do it, but the odds of you doing it are probably very, very little.
Yeah, I always think it's funny too because I'll hit a good slice or something. Not a good slice, that's never a good thing, but I'll go in the trees and I'll be like, there's all these trees and I can see the green and I'm like, I think I could thread this needle. I couldn't hit that fairway at all. That 50-yard fairway.
Yeah, right, over to the left.
But yeah, I can thread this. And then you just smack a tree. But
and I get a lot of questions too about, from students that are asking me, well, how do I take when I play a normal round and go to a tournament? You know, how do I take that next step? And a lot of times it's what do you do normally? You know, if you play that 20-yard slice, why are you trying to do something different? You know, if that's not working, if that's not your normal game and that's not what you normally feel, why are you going to go try to put that into a competition mode? You need to take what you know how to do, what you can do on a consistent basis, and take that to the golf course or to take that to the tournament. And you're probably more likely going to hit better shots, or I guess have better results because you're going to hit better shots. You know, it doesn't have to look pretty. And that's, again, a nice part about golf. It doesn't have to look pretty. There's no pictures on the golf course, on the scorecard. And it's all about what the, you know, how can you get that ball into the hole? You know, if you skull it, you hit a beautiful drive and then skull it up to the short of the green and then chip it in for a birdie. You know, you could just say you hit it 350 yards, you know, stuffed it in there to a foot and tapped it in or whatever it is. So, again, either way, it's still a 3. So.
Yeah, that's there's been some nasty shots for sure. And then it just ends up working out. You're like, yeah, I was just keeping it out of the wind.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you can always play some kind of excuse for it. You know, it worked out the way you meant to.
Yeah. Have you played a lot of courses like in other states? And
not a ton. I think that probably the nicest course I've played outside of Idaho is Sylvie's Ranch over in Oregon. Beautiful link style. It's actually cool because you play 1 through 18 one direction, and the next day you actually go backwards. So you can literally see the green next to the tee box right next to you. So it's a super cool design, super unique. Like I said, a link style as well too. So for those of people that haven't played a link style, you don't, you know, like normal traditional American golf courses, you just attack pins where you hit it to a certain number. Well, with link style, you have to hit it to a certain area and have the ground react to the ball. I guess the ball react to the ground. You have to maneuver and kind of, you know, position yourself. You know, there's a 220-yard par 3 downhill. You know, thinking I had to hit some massive 4-iron to get all the way down there. Hit a good shot, and then I'm, you know, 20 yards past the green. We come back and play it the next day. You know, somebody that had played it early said, oh, why don't you just hit like a little 7-iron? You know, 170-yard shot. I'm like, that's not even going to get to the green. What are you talking about? Hit it up there. Sure enough, it takes the slope, keeps going, cozied up to about 10 feet maybe. So an easy birdie, you know, or somewhat easy birdie putt versus trying to hit a 20-yard chip shot from back off the green. So again, it's just a totally different way of playing golf and super fun.
That's sweet. Have you ever played like in any other countries?
I haven't played in any other countries, no.
I was trying to get you to take your clubs with you or rent some clubs when you went on your honeymoon.
I was close. We were really debating on it down in Barbados. We were thinking about pulling the trigger on it, but, you know, I just wanted to enjoy the time down there with her. And whatnot.
Yeah.
So another time we'll get down there. Want to get down to
right.
Mexico or something like that. Just a cool experience, you know. Be always fun to see kind of how those resort courses, you know, what the grasses react differently. Because even when you play down in like, you know, Texas or Florida, they have Bermuda grass, which reacts differently than, you know, bent or POA that we have mainly up here in the Pacific Northwest.
That's crazy. There's so many different things you don't even think about as like an average golfer of just the different grasses.
Right. And again, you don't necessarily need to think about it as being an average golfer. You don't even think, but those play into the difference of how, you know, what kind of shots you're about to hit. You know, on Bermuda grass, the grass follows on the putting green, the grass will follow the sun. So if you're having an uphill putt and the sun's pointing, you know, towards that uphill, it's going to be a quicker putt versus if it's away from the sun, it's going to be a little bit slower because the grass blades are now away from the sun. So it's a very, very interesting dynamic.
Yeah. I noticed on that Pro-Am we did this year, you guys were looking at when you're doing your putts of like which way the grass was laying and different things like that. Mm-hmm. That was totally things I'd never even seen. You were like standing on the line and like feeling which foot was higher than the other. And
mm-hmm. There's different ways to attack it. I mean, there's, you know, you look at different people's approach to putting. You got your aim point, you got your feel, you got your, you know, people will get down like, you know, look like Camilo Villegas who gets down like Spider-Man and tries to get down on the ground. So there's different ways of trying to see what the ball's going to do on the putting green. And obviously it's an important aspect of golf. So you need to get as much information as you possibly can by looking around, feeling as much as you can. So again, you don't waste a stroke on, you know, oh, shoot, I should have seen that one. You could have taken that, you know, extra 10 seconds to try to find, you know, where that break is and all that kind of stuff.
I think golf's one of the hardest sports just because every course is different. It's not like you're playing baseball where, yeah, you could have a different kind of crowd or, mm-hmm. you know, the wall might be bigger, you know, some stadiums or whatnot. But, I mean, you got different weather, you got different lies, you got different grasses, everything like that.
Yep. And golf, even for the different day-to-day, you can, again, go out and play golf and, you know, you feel and hit a certain shot one day and then you can come back the very next day and try to feel the same thing and your ball's going to react differently. You're going to be ending up in a different position. You know, that's one of the things I loved learning on Crane Creek. I played that course hundreds and hundreds of times. and you found yourself in a different position almost every single time you go out and play it. So it almost forced you to learn how to hit a different shot and a different type thing. So,
Do you think it gave you any kind of advantage growing up, or not growing up, but learning on a country club? Just because obviously their greens are so much tougher, like because they roll them every day, they're quick, they're
yeah,
you know.
The greens are the greens. I think they're just different all over the course because you still have to adapt to the green that you're playing, whatever course that is. For me, I think the benefit of playing Crane Creek a lot was the different slopes and the types of shots that you had to hit. A lot of courses you only have those, couple little holes that are flat or that are, undulated and don't have a lot of slope. Or Crane Creek, you have a ton of slope all over the place. So you have to hit different kinds of shots. You have to choke up on the club, get your disc body in a different position and try to angle with the slope and all that kind of thing. So I think learning the golf swing on that kind of course, taught me, how important it is kind of how it all kind of works together in a sense. Cause it's a science, how your body reacts to the golf club and what it's all doing together.
When you would play Crane Creek and get pretty good at that course, and then you would go to, like, just say a public course, would those courses seem a lot easier to you?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%, because it's weird seeing yourself on a flat lie where your feet are pretty normal, and you're like, wow, this actually feels like a normal stance, like a tee box in a sense. It's, now it's my second shot from 100 yards away. It's a different feeling. So I found it actually kind of harder for me going onto the greens from when I was playing at Crane Creek a lot, just because how fast the greens were going, from 11s and 12s. To other courses that are, 9.5 to 10. So I was leaving, everything super short, and I could never really get a good feel for a lot of the tournaments that I had outside of, Crane Creek tournaments.
How do they slope the greens?
As far as speed?
Like grading them, yeah.
So different mower heights usually is the biggest indicator how high you mow the grass. Some courses, again, are allowed different heights as far as what their grass can sustain within weather too. Also, we have to, maintenance has to keep an eye on weather temperatures, especially in the summertime. You cut a green too short and it's in the summer, you're going to lose it. It's going to be dead. So you have to always kind of manipulate that just a little bit, but it's a combination of keeping the grass really short, rolling it really well, and that's kind of your optimal conditions for kind of faster speeds. And you need a little bit of a firmness underneath. So usually more mature greens tend to be faster versus brand new greens where the soil's still a little looser underneath. You tend to have a little bit more receptiveness to it, and so therefore it's going to be a little bit slower. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty sweet, man. I think Crane Creek, I had a blast just working there. Just going out, picking the ball, or the range,
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was one of my best. Like, you just go out there and you just hang out.
Yeah, you just have a good time. You pick up balls, you talk to members, clean some clubs, put some clubs away, and, wash some carts. I mean, it was really a good networking position as well, too. I mean, you got to know a lot of people as well, too. And everybody loves golf in a sense, or at least if you're in that kind of scenario, everybody seems to be having a good time. So you're not in an environment where you're really, in a high stress or dealing with a lot of, issues in a sense.
Yeah.
Maybe demanding personalities, but other than that.
Yeah, I actually met a lot of cool people there. I wish I would have been in a better spot, for myself, because I was kind of a shitbag back then still, but.
We had a good time. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. Great memories back then.
Yeah. It was really cool. Like, the members were really cool. Like you said, like, it's any job, you'll have some good, some bad, but for the most part, it was awesome. It was, man, I can't remember some of their names, but you built relationships with people and kind of got to know like how they like their car and, start talking to them. Yeah. It was some pretty cool spots.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's a great way to network and talk about, things, and a lot of people play golf. Again, it's not a very common, I mean, it's getting to be more and more common, but people that actually play can actually relate to each other. And it's like, oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean with that 40-yard slice. How do you fix it? You can kind of find some easy common ground when golf's involved.
Yeah. My dad always told me that I need to learn how to golf because all the business meetings take place on the golf course.
Yeah, a lot of them do. There's no doubt about it. We have a lot of people that come out and write it off or get receipts and stuff for people wanting to talk business and whatnot out there. But again, it's just that idea of being able to come out, spend 2 hours, 4 hours, or however long with that client or with that customer, and being able to get a better feel, a better personal touch with each other, being able to get out there in that time. And you learn a lot about people when you're playing golf too. What kind of integrity do they have? When they hit a bad shot, you can kind of see how the reaction is to something that negative that impacts them. You can kind of see how they are when they hit a good shot as well too. Do they become cocky? Do they get, all that other stuff? So there's a lot you can learn from people as well as you're kind of seeing them play golf with them.
Yeah, I think that integrity thing is a big one.
Oh yeah.
You see people start cheating and you don't call them on it, but they keep doing it. Or I've heard of stories of people calling off big business deals because they go golfing and he said he got a 5 when it was a 6 or whatever. and they're like,
stuff.
that's it. We're not gonna, because you're like, if you're gonna rely on these little things that we're not even betting money on, and you're still just gonna lie, like,
Exactly.
what are you gonna do when there's money on the table?
Exactly, especially big money too. With a lot of these businesses that are dealing with multi-millions of dollars, they're not going to want to be put it in the hands or trusting in the hands of somebody that's being shady on something recreational such as golf. I mean, now again, you're taking into account millions of dollars. You want to be able to trust somebody that you're dealing with that kind of money.
Yeah. What do you think some tips are for like the average golfer? Should they start at just breaking 100, or like if they want to get into it, what's a good goal for them to start?
Well, really, I think the first goal for them is to get to a range, get to wherever you can, and just pick up a club and just try to get the ball airborne. Really just try to get the ball off the ground to start with. Once you get it on the range, and you can pretty much do that on a consistent basis, 7 or 8 times out of the 10 balls, let's just say, then you can take it to the golf course and, try to, see what you can take from there. And obviously you don't want to take score for the first time, because we always want to enjoy the game when we're out there. So again, it kind of depends on you. If you're really wanting to get into the game to get better, take that first score and try to say, hey, I shot 115. That's my starting point. Now I need to start practicing and, working on, hey, when I shot that 115, did I have 50 putts? Did I have, 7 tops off the driver? I mean, there was something that caused that 115 that now you can start working on, whatever you need to work on.
Yeah. What do you think about that thing going around I've seen lately on like social media of like, if you're just starting, like, it doesn't matter, play from the ladies' tees, like,
100%. Yeah.
People are like all about like the ego and what the tees they're playing from.
Yeah. And it's a pride thing, 100%. I mean, for me, when I actually started out with beginner players, I actually like to take them to the 150-yard marker and just see if we can get par from the 150-yard marker. Great, you did it. So now let's go back to the ladies' tees, or, the junior tees, or wherever back. And so we'll just kind of slowly work our way back, and so that they can also see that, hey, I can get a 4, from this spot. Now I can challenge myself to work our way back, because obviously the further back you go, the more of a challenge it is. So, but again, golf is, you want to stay positive. So if you start yourself right off from the blacks, give yourself the hardest challenge there is, and you're getting 7s and 8s because you're, a beginner, that's not fun for you anymore. You're not going to be enjoying the game. Versus if you played from, the forward tees or the junior tees or whatever it is, now you're getting 4s and 5s, and, now golf becomes more fun. Now you want to go to the range and practice. Now you want to, do it more often, in a sense.
Yeah, I like that idea of like the red tees where like it gave you like a handicap. Like, this is your handicap, just go from these tees. If these are your handicap, it's not like men's, women's, experts, whatever, Yeah,
exactly. And again, you have to put the ball in the hole. I mean, there's been plenty of lessons where I've gone out and played with the lessons, and they've played from the red tees, and they're like, oh, why aren't you playing from the blacks? Well, I like to play from the reds just to give myself a different look. For me, I'll hit a hybrid off the tee and put myself in a different position. I'll hit a driver close to the green and have to work on my wedge. I'll hit an iron off. I mean, whatever I want to do, it allows me to have a different way of playing the game, even though obviously I can play from the blacks, but, allows me to just see the course in a different way, hit a different shot, all that kind of stuff. Because again, you take those shots to a different golf course, because you never know when you're going to be in that situation and position, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You got a hole in one yet?
No. I've been about 4 inches, like 2 or 3 times.
At River Birch, or?
Yeah, a couple at River Birch. My last one was actually, our closest one was almost at Quail this last fall on number 17, that little tiny par 3 going down.
Oh, across that little gully?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I hit it right to the middle of the green, sucked it back, and ended up about 2 or 3 inches away. And I was like, oh, come on.
Did I ever tell you about my grandpa? He put the first on, it was a par 3. He put the first one in the water, the second one, he re-teed and went in. And he's like, I got a par. I was like, honestly, hey, from a tee box to the hole, but he didn't count it until like, I think.
See, that's an integrity thing right there.
Yeah. I think it probably took him another like 5-6 years after that. And then he finally got his first hole in one at 81 years old.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah. I feel like that's probably going to be my first quote unquote hole in one, where I'm going to have some crap shot that's going to go in the water, and then I'm going to dunk it from the tee on the next one. But hope not, knock on wood.
Yeah. So I was with my buddy at hole number 7 on Crane Creek, and we hit a couple shots, and then he's like, I'm going to hit another one. And then the second one went in. It wasn't out of bounds, right? It was just like, I was like, I don't know, dude. I don't know. Well, we gave your hole in one with an asterisk on it, I guess, if you want. But
it's just so crazy. It's a lot of it's luck. It's 100% luck. I mean, you can hit I've heard of plenty of good golfers that only have a handful, if not any, that are really good. They're straight. They put the ball in the green next to the hole quite often. It's just a matter of it going in. One of the first hole-in-ones I saw was at Crane Creek off of, I think it was number 12 at the time before they changed their back nine. The big old slopes, off the hill there, and it's a kind of a tiny green. He literally hits this thing 20, 30 yards right into the sagebrush, you see it bouncing around all in these rocks, comes trickling down the hill across the green and goes in the hole. It's like, are you kidding me right now? You couldn't do that again at all. Like, there's no way you could ever do that again. And, again, it counts as a hole in one because ball ended up in the hole.
I've heard about that too with like the ladies tees or the ladies groups over in Crane Creek when I was like cleaning the clubs. There was a lot of those like older women that would just have these nasty hole in ones.
Oh yeah. And you'd see them, they'd hit their driver and they'd like skull it, wouldn't get 5 feet off the ground basically and just roll up onto the hill, just cozy up and bloop, right them in.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's a game of luck and really at the end of it. And that's why, again, you can't take it so serious. You can't get so negative on yourself because you can hit a good shot and have a bad result. And then you can hit a horrible shot and have a good result. So you just really have no idea. You just try to hit the best shot you can.
Yeah. So for like an average golfer that wants to break 80, where do you think that needs to be, that short game?
Yeah, for the really to break 80, the biggest thing is short game and then making sure as you're playing, you're taking away the mental mistakes to kind of add. Because usually when you're at that 80 to 84 range, 85 range, usually you have a hole or two that'll cause a 7 or an 8 or a double. Or, usually he'll have something like that that's causing you to have that low 80 score. So it's eliminating those holes as much as you can, playing smart, playing something less off the tee. If you're not hitting your driver good, put it away, get something in position, all that kind of stuff. What people don't realize too is par is your friend. Most times everybody's going out there, I want to get birdie, birdie, birdie. I want to shoot, 62. Start out by just trying to hit the greens in regulation. Most of the time you're not going to. That's hard enough it is for the 18 holes. Your pros are hitting it 14 or 15 times out of the 18 holes. And the average golfer is hitting it only 9 or 10 times. So you're really only giving yourself 9 or 10 opportunities at a birdie. And again, with our putting not as good, you're only going to make maybe 1 or 2 of them. Versus the guys on tour who have 14 or 15 chances are going to make 6 or 7. Then they make all those other pars. Now you see how they're shooting 65, 66, all that kind of stuff. So, But again, it's getting yourself on the greens in regulation, making as many putts as you can.
I was going to ask you too, how'd you get your first sponsorship, or have you always been with Callaway?
So I've always been with Callaway. So again, another blessing through Crane Creek, because they, had enough sales through their shop and whatnot, allows people to be on staff with them. So it allows you to be, basically have an agreement between us and the vendor to be able to sell their equipment, and you get to utilize their equipment in exchange and all that kind of stuff. So I got on staff with Callaway, I think in 2014, a couple years after I became a pro, and then I've been on, I think this is now going to be my 10th year with them.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
You get to try a lot of the cool stuff.
Oh yeah. You get to try all the cool stuff. It's, again, some of it's great. Some, I mean, there's been years that I've tried out the new stuff and it hasn't been as good as, the years before. So I think everybody's saying the latest and greatest is, we got to get it. I think that's a old wives' tale these days. A lot of companies now are making great products. You got Ping, Callaway, Titleist, TaylorMade, Cobra. They all make quality products. It's a matter, it comes down to a personal feel for you. What do you like the sound of? What do you like the feel of? I can, take all 5 of those and hit good shots with them. It's just, what do I prefer?
Yeah. There was that one guy, he was a pro, and he got that hole in one on like some event when he had still like RX-7s or something, or not RX-7s, but like the TaylorMade R7s, like the old clubs.
Yeah.
I don't remember and then he got into the Masters, I think. Remember that guy? I don't know.
Remember.
But yeah, they're like, he was a local pro or something and just won some tournaments to be able to get into this. And then he got a hole in one. But they were asking him, he was like, no, these clubs work fine for me.
Exactly. I mean, again, Freddie Couples played with his, I can't remember if it was his wife's 7-wood or just like an older 7-wood that just was not known for. And he knew where it was going to go and what kind of shot he was going to hit with it. And he played with that for years and years and years. So I don't think it necessarily makes a difference on what the club is. If you know what the ball's going to do, play it. That's what you got to do.
Yeah. I was thinking that too, because, you're always thinking that you have to have the newest stuff, but then you think back and you're like, this old club was a pro club at one point. And he was using this. It's just, how do you use it?
Correct. Yep. And that's where I do think technology's made a difference on where, back clubs in the 80s and 90s, you had a sweet spot that was the size of a dime. Now with the technology, you're looking about the size of a quarter, maybe a $50. So the size, it makes a big difference as far as your, mishit. It actually goes a lot better versus older clubs. You mishit it, it's going to hurt your hands and you're still going to hit a horrible shot. So I think they have improved that aspect as far as the technology goes. But again, you still have to hit the shot, hit a good shot, regardless of what's in your hands.
How important is it to get your club size to you?
Very. Oh, it's vital. I mean, if you have again, not everybody has the means to buy new clubs. Sometimes you can only get, your yard sale or, a buddy hands you off one because you can't afford a brand new set. But if you do, budget wisely and can afford yourself a new set, I would 100% recommend get fitted because you can make your swing do exactly what you need to do every time. And the club is fit for you, whether that's 2 degrees flat, half-inch long, whatever, what kind of flex shaft, how heavy of the shaft, all that kind of stuff makes a massive difference. So again, you're making your normal swing, the club produces what you're supposed to, and now your ball is at hitting, straighter, further, all that kind of stuff.
You can just do that at your local PGA stores or...
Yeah, PGA Superstore, Golf Galaxy, Wide World of Golf. There's different courses that have different... Fortunately, we don't have a simulator at our course, but they're, Timberstone. I know Craig Grunig, one of the great guys at Callaway that I've learned a lot from my fitting. He does a lot out at Timberstone, so it's a great place to go to kind of, again, talk to somebody that's knowledgeable, get something that's in your hands that works for you and, make your swing.
Is it more important to get your irons or your driver if you're going to just get like one thing done? Or does the irons have to be done from the factory?
No, they don't have to be done from the factory. I would say probably irons are more important than a driver. Everybody puts so much emphasis behind a driver just because you want to hit it 300 some odd yards. I know plenty of guys that shoot in the low 70s that only hit it 250 yards off the tee. And again, it doesn't matter what kind of driver that you're using, but irons, I think you utilize a lot more throughout your round. It's more important to hit greens in regulation because you're not driving from the tee box to the green, right? You're going to have to hit an iron shot onto the green at some point. So I feel irons are going to be more important for you to dial in and get more comfortable with your swing versus a driver. And expense-wise, I mean, obviously everything's expensive, unfortunately, in golf. It's one of the frustrating aspects of it. But, a driver being $500-$600 and your set of irons is probably anywhere from $700 to $1,000 because you're getting, 6, 7, 8 irons depending on what your makeup is.
At what point in your golf career do you need to start worrying about like the actual golf ball? Like when you get to a certain score, should you start worrying about that?
Yeah,
or?
I would probably say when you're getting into the low 80s, high 70s, I think you need to start being more aware of kind of what swing you have, whether if it's an aggressive, fast swing or if you're more of a smooth one, because you need to know how much compression you're putting into a golf ball. So for me, if I were to swing as hard, I swing fairly quick or fairly hard and aggressive at the ball. So if I have a super soft ball like the Callaway Super Soft or, a TaylorMade Project A or something along those lines or, a Titleist velocity, I'll compress that ball really hard or basically smash it to nothing. And I'm going to create a lot of spin where it's just going to go more high than it is going to actually go out forward. So I need a harder ball that's, kind of like a Pro V1X, a Chrome Soft X, something that's got harder compression. So now that I can actually compress or hit that ball harder and it's not going to smash as much, I'm going to get more, pop out of it and get more distance.
Yeah.
So I guess it makes a difference on how you attack the ball, how you kind of come in at it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because I think just for like the average golfer, going to Costco and getting you some Kirkland balls is just fine.
Yeah, 100%. Especially learns you're not hitting enough golf balls to know the difference between a Kirkland ball and a Pro V1X. You haven't hit enough golf balls to know what that feels like. I mean, sure, you might get a feeling off of your driver one time where you might feel one a little bit softer than the other, but how the shot ends up, you're not going to see much difference. You're still going to probably have a 10-yard slice or a 10-yard hook with both golf balls. You're not going to see much difference in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never really been able to tell the difference too much because I have so many inconsistencies in my swing that I'm like, I don't know if it's a ball or if it's me, dude. So,
and unfortunately, that's again where golf comes down. It's a lot of the times it's you. And that's the frustrating part is that it is us making the swing with whatever we're doing, and we can kind of make difference, some differences. I will say a lot of people don't realize cleaning grooves on clubs is vitally important. When you get grass or dirt that gets smashed up into the grooves, and then over time nobody cleans them, you now have less surface friction on the golf ball from the club face. So now you're basically not having as much spin. You're basically getting a knuckleball. You're never going to kind of have a good golf shot without having those grooves clean. So I think a lot of people don't realize that, or they don't do it, one or the other. So.
It's crazy how many variables there are.
Oh, it is. It's 1,000 variables for you to hit a good solid shot. I mean, it's incredible to actually hit a good solid straight ball. You have a lot of things that you got to do right to be able to hit that ball straight.
Remember that Tiger Woods video? It was like, you only have to do these 3 things.
Yeah.
And then he needed this and this and this and this. And like goes down the whole line.
Oh, yeah. And you see people all the time. They have things written on their hands. They got notebooks. They got, a checklist. They got a plethora of things that they're trying to think about. And it's almost impossible to play golf like that. For me, you got to think of 1 or 2 things at most that your goal is to try to hopefully get your swing in the position. Most of the times when I'm giving lessons, most of the times, like say, like I have to work on somebody that needs better body turn, that needs to rotate better. So when they go out and play golf, that's the only thing I want you focusing on. Don't worry about your hands, your arms, or any of that. Focus on your body turn. Let's just see if you focus on that one thing, what does a golf ball do? And a lot of times when they focus on just one thing, they're going to see a result happen more consistently. And then again, you can fine tune what that one swing thought is, as you practice more, as you go out and play more, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, hitting that ball with your right hip. I remember you were telling me that one.
Yeah.
Making that big difference, having to actually turn through. Because
you can think you're turning, but then your pelvis only gets to a 45-degree angle. You think you're turned through, but your lower half really hasn't turned through much at all. So you turn in that right hip just a little bit more, turns now the entire upper torso. You get more oomph and power through the ball, and your club face scores up. So again, so many little different things that come around on it.
Hey, I remember when we used to work at Crane Creek, there was I don't remember his name. You would know his name, but he was like with the world champ. Was he a world champion or something for speed golf?
Oh, Ari Crum. Yep, he's a local chiropractor. Great guy. Yeah, I think that year he was first or second. I can't remember what he did, but yeah, he would come out early morning, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. Would come out and run the golf course and shoot. Play with 5 or 6 golf clubs and shoot 78, 79, or whatever it was, and play in like an hour and 10 minutes. Just absolutely incredible.
As if it wasn't hard enough.
Right, exactly. And then they'd rub it in your face.
Yeah.
But he also played, Ari also played with Tiger Woods over in Stanford. He was actually one of the he was the golf captain when Tiger was on the team or something along those lines. So he was a golfer even in college and whatnot when he was playing. So good stick.
I was telling my buddy, I was like, I think I want to try speed golf one time. And I think it might, I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't be as bad as I'm thinking as like how my score would reflect because I'm more worried about other things and I'm just hitting the ball and not thinking about it so much.
Yep.
Because I think that's when you get in that spot of it's just like you're just hitting the ball and you don't really care. It's like a sweet spot of not caring, but you do care.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, yeah. I feel like if you're doing running, you're just like trying just to worry about your speed at that point, and now you're just all your natural swings coming through, so you're not really caring about it that much.
Exactly. You're just making the normal swing. And I actually experienced that myself doing my 100-hole hike this last summertime.
Yeah.
And I played 100 holes in one day. So, by the first couple of rounds, I'm trying to play quick just to get the holes done, right? So I got into a point where I didn't even take time to look at the target. I mean, I looked at the target, but I didn't aim. I didn't really do, you just step up and hit. You just let that natural thing kind of take over. And it's an amazing when you take out all the extra thoughts that you're trying to all focus on your left arm doing this or that or this, it automatically happens when you just kind of take that element away from you and you just focus on playing golf. Just hit the ball at the target. Sometimes simplifying it makes it a lot better.
I think there's a lot to say about that too, about just getting your reps in. Like,
oh yeah,
you just have to go and hit and hit and hit.
And that's where I see a lot. I mean, even for me, we see a lot in the shop. We see a lot of new golfers coming out and trying to play golf. It'd be so difficult to try to take a brand new sport up and going to the golf course. You got groups behind you that are wanting to play faster. You got all these hazards. You got all these other things that are going on, and not to mention hitting the golf ball is even hard enough in itself. So beginners, I think, need to take more advantage of golf ranges. It's not as expensive as going on the golf course either. You're not going to drop $45 to $65 on a round of golf. You can only drop $5 to $10 on a bucket of balls. And you're going to hit 50 to 100 golf balls, and that's going to give you a lot of reps, a lot of practice and feel. So again, once you feel comfortable on the range and you're seeing your golf ball flying, fairly straight, going out in, good distance, now you can take that to the golf course and, work from there.
Yeah, I think definitely getting in your reps, hitting the buckets. But then I think once you get to a point where you are getting airborne and you're getting some momentum, I think it's very important that you actually get a lesson.
Oh, 100%.
Because like you said, you don't know what you don't know. So I mean, you could look at someone's swing like, oh, you just have to make a quick little tweak, and now they make it. And that, $50 they paid or whatever he paid is going to save him so much time that he doesn't have to figure out in YouTube. It's like you can watch YouTube all day long, but you'll see multiple different things. And if you're not going to be able to get instant feedback from someone of what you're doing right, because you might think like you said, you might think you're twisting through, but you're not twisting enough.
I will say YouTube is the worst thing anybody can ever do for their golf swing. It is absolutely the worst thing, because what you're looking on the golf, you may say, I'm trying to fix a hook swing. How that instructor is talking on YouTube is talking to somebody specifically that works for them. Golf, you have a million different swings. Jim Furyk takes the club really steep, shallows it out, and then gets back to square. If anybody tried to change his swing, he wouldn't be shooting Mr. 58. He has one of the lowest rounds on the PGA Tour. He's got, a number of, plenty of wins. He's one of the best golfers. So you can swing the golf club a completely different way every single time. So it's not a matter of, what that looks like, but it's all impact in a sense. Where are you coming in at the ball and how does that react?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think like Matt Wolf, just how he's got that little shutter step in his, and you try and do that on a YouTube video, and
Exactly.
you're not going to fix that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. No, it's a horrible, but again, taking it to a pro and hopefully as a good teacher, you're going to be able to see what they do right, what they do wrong, and be able to make those minor tweaks. Because again, I don't want to go in as an instructor and make a massive couple of changes because now it feels uncomfortable to them, because then they're not going to keep doing it. Right? If they can't make a body rotation to a certain degree without working out or without wanting to, work on it more, we have to make adjustments other ways. I see that a lot when I have older, clientele with 60 to 70-year-olds. Like, oh, how do I hit the ball further? Well, a lot of that comes from body rotation because they're just not physically able to rotate their body as much. So us, going to PT or them working on it themselves and trying to get that extra, mobility and flexibility within their core, that'll allow them to hit the ball further. But if they can't, now we have to look at what in the swing can we do to kind of increase speed a little bit, so that way we can kind of, again, give them the results that they're looking for.
Yeah. Do you get a lot more lessons in the wintertime, people's downtime, trying to fix stuff?
Not as much. I see, especially up here in Idaho, we have a lot of people that actually have different hobbies, which is, for me, kind of nice. I love the fact that I'm a pro here in Idaho that can have the downtime to be able to prep for next year. And I feel bad for the guys that are down in Arizona and Texas that are, constantly going this year around and trying to plan and prep things on their time off. It's just be tough to do. But
they're probably more busy in the wintertime down
south.
Yeah,
because all the people from up north here are going back down there.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, I kind of like, again, I like the downtime for people. Again, Idaho is not conducive for golf, so you can be practicing and playing. And for me, for giving a lesson in December or January, if you can't go out to the range on a consistent basis, it's not going to benefit you. I don't want to take your money and say, hey, I'm going to make you a better golfer if you have no ability to practice what we're just doing. Again, simulators can only do so much. I think simulators are great for keeping your feel and kind of keeping the swing. I think there's, obviously some better ones than others as far as when it comes to short game and chipping and putting. Again, that's all different once you get back into the golf course itself. But I think simulators are great for being able to keep the swing, the feel, and just your body loose and all that.
Yeah, it's hard to get actual feedback on simulators because you can never duff a shot.
No, it's very hard to duff a shot. Even if you duff it, it looks like it still goes pretty good and straight. Yeah. So, and again, that's one of the nice parts, again, with River Birch. We love our range because it's full grass. A lot of times, a lot of courses have mats, and mats aren't the greatest to be hitting off of just because it gives you a false feedback of what it's kind of reacting. You can kind of get away with, chunk shots and thinner shots and that kind of stuff on a mat versus real turf and real grass, how that club's reacting out of it.
What are some of the biggest challenges of being a pro golfer, or just a pro in general, of like a head pro of a shop?
I think probably the biggest challenge is dealing with the different personalities, trying to have, we're not just a golf pro, we're, counselors, we're meteorologists, we're, we wear a lot of different hats. And I think that all is based off the customer and what they're needing from us. So, for me, I like the aspect of that I can kind of connect with different people from, a 70-year-old woman that's played here for 40 years to now I can connect with a 15-year-old young boy that's, picking up the game for the first time and wants to make the high school team or something like that. So I think that's what I like about it. I guess it's a challenge though too, is trying to be able to kind of create those relationships, being able to, know everybody from different walks of life.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you actually don't get a lot of time to actually play golf either.
No, that is the worst. That is the worst perception that golf pros say, oh, all you do is ever go play golf. We play the least amount of golf probably of anybody. Again, you work an 8-10 hour day, and it's probably each pro's individual, situation that they're in. But for me personally, when I work an 8, 10, 12 hour day, last thing I want to do is go hit balls on the range or go, tee up and go play 2 more hours out for 9 more holes or something like that. It's just a lot to deal with. But again, for me, that's where I want to make sure, for me personally, time managing myself, picking days that I can go out and work on my game on days off, things like that I can do, that can, help with that situation.
Yeah, because I know I've been trying to get you to go out a few times. You're like, well, I'm booked this month. Try next month. Let me know a date that you think you might will, and I'll let you know if that works. But
And again, so many different things going on the golf course, from Mondays and Tuesday leagues to your Thursday ladies leagues to your, clinics that you got going on to, tournaments on the weekends to outside events. I mean, it's just a plethora of things that are going on that the golf course kind of entails. And that's been one of the eye openers becoming a head pro from even being at Crane Creek as an assistant, is that you're now in charge of having to run these things. So for me, it falls back on me that I have to make sure if I'm running this event, I take ownership in that. I want to run a quality event. I want to run it to the best of my ability, so that way it's not just, half-assed or something like that.
Yeah, one of the best dudes with the best handwriting I've ever seen too. Were those big old tournament cards?
It's a dying art form, you know. Not many people do it anymore. A lot of them are using these printers and these big, massive scoreboard printers and stuff. But you know, for me, it's a special touch that people can see their name handwritten up there in the calligraphy pens and whatnot. And it's fun. It's fun. It's worth a lot of work, but it's fun.
Did you just get good at that over time, or is it something you?
Yeah. So again, up at Crane Creek, you have winters that were dead, and you know, Ron would have extra scoreboards lying around that we'd eventually toss. So you know, downtime, I would just grab a Sharpie that we would be throwing away, and I'd just practice all my letters. You know, you obviously screw up a bunch of them, but you know, you've learned different techniques, different ways of making something look good, and you know, again, it's crazy to look back on that. I've been doing this for coming up on 19 years. You know, it's hard to think about more than half of my life I've been spent in the golf industry, and it's just happened like that. You know what I mean? So it's just, you're still learning and growing. You're still trying to understand it all and whatnot, but it's been fun.
You picked up a lot of different talents working in the golf world. I know you know all the world, or all the countries in the world now.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of downtime. Yep. Again, you get playing, having fun on the computer, doing different things. And I remember those downtimes in Crane Creek. I'd play the Sporkle quizzes and just try to keep my mind active. And you got 197 countries in this world that you got to try to memorize. So might as well do something while I'm doing nothing.
Yeah. When are you going to do the Bryson DeChambeau over the
house?
clubhouse?
Yeah, I need to do that. That'd be fun. Because actually, River Birch is set up pretty good for it, because we have our cart barn kind of right on the other side, so we could probably find a little grass area and hit it up and over the clubhouse. Just make sure you don't skull it through one of the windows. But you never know. See how many times it takes.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. That was cool to watch, that whole thing. But let's do some rapid fire questions. This will be the first time I've ever done this, but what's your favorite club in your bag?
Favorite club in my bag? I'm going to go with my 8-iron. Yeah, I feel more comfortable with my 8-iron. I don't have any issues. I feel, again, it's my 160-yard club, so I feel, even though it's not the closest, I feel more comfortable being able to put that, somewhere on the green. To saying that as well, too, I also have a hard time putting myself off the tee box to that 160, because, again, I always try to tell students, what is your favorite club? Play to that yardage. So if it's your wedge and you hit it 130 yards, subtract the yardage from the tee box to that number, hit it off the tee to that number. Now you have your favorite club in your hand. You're more likely to hit the ball on the green because you like that club, right?
Yeah.
So, you don't have to hit a driver off the tee every time. You could hit a 4-iron, you could hit a 5-iron, you could hit a hybrid or whatever it is to get you to that, desired yardage. And then now you got your favorite club, and you can fire it at the pin.
I like how you think strategic too, because I know like on hole 1, a lot of people hit like a wood or something, but you're like, just hit a 7-iron, just hit it up by that first tree, and you got the best line in. Mm-hmm. Like, don't hit it too far, because now you're gonna get all those trees in your way.
Yep, it's a bad angle, because now you're coming more at the trees to the left. You got to go over the water on the pond to the right. So I mean, again, you simplify it as much as you can, and then 7-iron's easier to hit than a 5-iron or a hybrid off the tee and all that kind of stuff. So
I did clear the water once this year during the league.
Attaboy, nicely done.
I didn't clear it a lot of times, but
hey, your partner's all right. Give it a go. Might as well. Why not? Right. What'd you do after that?
Well, the very first time, it wasn't during league, but I eagled it the very first time I tried it.
Heck yeah. There you go. So you made it worth your while.
It was crazy, but I chipped. I went over the water. Then second shot, I went over the back of the green, and I chipped it in.
It's awesome. See,
it's so much easier than putting.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes you just take the putt.
That was a crazy round too, because that was that one where I'd made the turn and I came in and I was like, dude, I don't know what the hell's happening, but I'm like 2 under right now.
Well, the few times we got out and played, you friggin' played out of your mind too. So.
And then I think I ended up with like a 3 over on the back, so I shot like a 1 over on the course, but it was like from the whites. But still, you're like, dude, you had to go from tee box to ball or the hole. And that's cool.
Mm-hmm. And again, you look at the scorecard and you see from the white tees. Let's take for example, that's 5,400 yards or whatever it is. That's a decently long course. I mean, it's not the longest course, but you still played 5,500 yards of golf. You go back to the blues, now that's 6,000 yards. Go back to the lots, that's 65 to 7,000 yards. You know what I mean? So you give yourself a good starting point where you feel confident, hey, I just shot 1 over from the white tees. Let me see if I can go do that from the blue tees. You know what I mean? And just kind of keep working your way from there. Because again, it gives you confidence. You now know that you have the ability to go out and do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that confidence thing is key. What's a bucket list course for you?
Augusta. Oh, I think that's everybody's course on their bucket list is Augusta National over in where the Masters is played at.
I didn't even realize how hard it was just to get tickets to go to the Masters.
It's incredible.
It's like a lottery system.
Yeah. Well, then even if you do get tickets, try to find a place to stay. I mean, they Airbnb things out there are thousands of dollars. I mean, all the hotels are booked, months and months in advance. I mean,
Well, there's a tax rule just made for Augusta. It's called the Augusta rule, where you can rent out your house for up to 14 nights a year tax free.
Yeah. Yeah. Incredible. Yeah. So again, good luck with that. But that's, again, of course, on the bucket list to get over because it's just iconic. You know, you've had so many, you know, memorable moments on the course, and Masters being one of my favorite majors of the year. You know, definitely one of the bucket lists.
What about Old Andrews?
Old Andrews is good. I think there'd probably be other. I think Carnoustie would probably be more of a course I'd rather go play. I mean, Old Andrews is great just because it's the beginning of golf, but you know, I guess I've played enough WGT golf online to play that course enough. It's okay, but it's not the most exciting thing. So I think there's other courses I'd rather play in, you know, England and over that area.
What's your go-to after course meal?
Go-to after course meal. I'm a Panda guy. I like some good orange chicken. That's a good kind of a re-upper a little bit. That's kind of my go-to.
I remember back in the day, it was during work, it was bacon cheeseburger and a Dr. Pepper.
Oof.
You probably put a number of those away.
Yeah. How I'm not 400 pounds is incredible. I have the worst diet of anybody I ever know because of how much soda and crap food I eat. And I actually don't have, you know, more than 225 pounds on me. So I don't know. I definitely have some things I got to work on that aspect to kind of, you know, get myself in better shape or whatnot. But yeah, I definitely can put away some burgers and Cokes and Dr. Peppers.
That was one of the best perks about working in Crane Creek. You get the free lunches or half off if it wasn't on the free lunch.
Oh yeah. And the quality of food that you had up there was just so good. Your fresh, you know, pound burger, all juicy and whatnot, on deck to the nines. Oh, it was Couldn't get. And then one of the best parts too is that you have like buffets and stuff up there too for like Thanksgiving or Christmas.
Yeah.
Members would go through and get all their food and whatnot. And then, you know, you'd go up and get a massive stack full of plate, and then you come down and watch some football on the TV because nobody's playing golf. I'll get paid for it. Shh, can't get better than that.
Right. Yeah, it's such a sweet place. All right, let's see. What's one thing you'd tell your younger self?
One thing I would tell my younger self. I would say probably trust your gut instinct. You know, for me personally, the things that I've gone through, I think I could have used, you know, I could have listened to that inner voice more often, knowing I knew certain things and I knew that decision at the time was the right choice, and I second-guessed myself. I prolonged it, I procrastinated, whatever the case might have been, and it ended up hurting me more in the long run versus, you know, trusting your gut in the beginning in that initial time, and, you know, it would have been a lot more successful up front.
Did you ever get any pushback once you started to determine that you wanted to make golf a career?
A little bit, more so just because of the pay. I mean, you don't get paid. I mean, we're like a teacher's salary in a sense, so we don't get, I think, the credit that we actually do for all the work that we do. But, you know, that's not why I do the job. Obviously, my passion comes more for, you know, who I help and the things that I do versus what I get paid.
Yeah. What did you want to do when you were a kid? Obviously, you weren't going to be a golfer, so.
No, so I was actually really into sports med. I actually thought I would probably, you know, want to go more in the medicine route, you know, helping athletes, you know, from injuries, taping people up, things like that, or PT. I thought something more along that route because, again, I was in football and basketball, and I thought that was more my interest, and I really enjoyed anatomy and physiology going through high school. I thought how the body worked and, you know, the muscles, the ligaments, all that kind of stuff. I thought that was very intriguing to me. So I thought that was probably more where I would be leaning towards once I graduated. But life has other plans.
Right? Yeah. No, I hear you there, man. I would have never thought I'm doing what I'm doing now. I mean, I always had an idea that I want to be in law enforcement. Like, when I went through high school, they had like little intro to law enforcement classes, so I got into that, and then I never thought I would have been in prison, but.
Yeah. But again, you have something inside of you that wants to help people, that wants to protect and serve in a sense, though, too. So I think something inside of you is wanting to give back in that sense, or wanting to, you know, what fulfills you, and you know what I mean, where you feel that desire. And, you know, if that's where you find it and you feel feel passionate about it, more power to you.
Remember when I was working at Crane Creek and I'd get off Graveyard and come straight to...
I don't know how you did it. You literally would work, 12-hour shift, and then you wouldn't go to sleep, or you'd drive straight over from there and work a, morning shift or whatever, and then turn around and try to go play golf, or you'd go do something else. Like, you'd be up for like 48, 72 hours or something like that at a time.
It was crazy.
I don't know how you did it. You'd be living off of Red Bulls and Monsters or something.
Oh, gosh.
Holy criminy.
I remember one time I was working at Crane Creek, and then I went golfing, and then I went back to work, and then I came back to Crane Creek, and then I went golfing again, and then and I think I went home after that. But I know that drive home was definitely hallucinating.
You started seeing things. I believe it. I 100% believe it. Because again, at your prison job, it's not like you can sit on your ass and do nothing.
Yeah.
You had things banging around. You had things that you were
Yeah.
dealing with all the time. So I know you're definitely doing stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely remember you pulling some long nights and long days put together.
Yeah, it was cool. I loved working at Crane Creek though. Yeah. I just I probably screwed around too many times to come back that third year, which is it's understandable. It worked out though. I'm glad. I mean, obviously things happen for a reason. I'm really glad that I was able to meet you, and
Yeah, that's where we
it's
met.
been I remember just going in there and just telling some prison stories and just seeing like some of the other people working in there just turned red.
Oh
dude.
my goodness. I would love it because very few people actually got your humor in a sense. So I feel like that's where we really connected, is because I loved your prison stories. Because my dad, he was in law enforcement too. So I would hear a lot of the similar stories. So I think we got, I think we understood it a lot more than others.
Yeah.
And so I think it was definitely a lot of fun seeing their reactions. And we're both just, rolling back on our stomachs, just howling our asses off.
Yeah. It's crazy, dude. So what do you do outside of golf? I mean, you're not just a golfer, so.
Not a lot, no. Outside of golf, I'm a kind of a very quiet. That's funny. I'm a kind of an introverted guy. I really don't like going out and doing a whole lot of things. I think my position forces me to kind of go out and be extroverted in a sense, which I kind of like that aspect of myself. But you wouldn't see me going out and doing a whole lot of things outside on my own. I like to do puzzles. I'm a very kind of a quiet guy. Put a little music on. Read a book. I'm a big spiritual guy as well too. I like reading the Bible and doing some studying and things like that. So, I kind of find my time doing more stuff like that versus, out socializing.
Yeah, it's cool. I just barely started really trying to get into like the church stuff, and it's been cool being able to talk to you and have like someone to bounce ideas off of, because I'm so new to it that I don't know anything really, you know.
And it's a walk. It's a every day is a different journey. You have choice there, and that's, again, God created us as humans. We're complex creatures. We are offered opportunities and thoughts every single day that we can choose to act upon or we can not choose to act upon. And those choices eventually make up who we are as people. So obviously the more bad choices you make, and you're going to be construed as more of a bad person in that sense. So it's a battle we all face, doing different things. And that's where I really feel a lot of people struggle with reading the Bible and applying it on their everyday life, because there's things in the Bible that talk about every day, the things that we struggle with every day, the temptations, the weaknesses, the hopelessness, all the things that we encounter that we feel like have no answers for, there is an answer for. And it's just a matter of finding it, and that's the harder part, is trying to find it and apply it to our life as best we can. And we're going to fall short, and that's why we're humans, and having that faith in Jesus, who was perfect, allows us to now be perfect in him. And
right.
Again, it's a lot of it's faith. A lot of it's faith driven. And is it hard for a lot of the time? It's hard for people to give up that control of themselves, of their own life, and giving it to God and giving it to Christ and allowing him to work through you, because you may not see the bigger picture that's ahead of your life. You may be thinking, oh, this is exactly what I want to do, and that's how I want to do it. Well, maybe these are the lessons you needed to learn to go about doing something else.
Yeah.
And we just don't know that picture.
Yeah, man, I think having faith is huge. I look back at just even, I've never done a golf league before, and I decided to sign up with you guys last year. And then, I mean, some of the people I got to meet there, I got to meet a guy that was telling me that, they do like a golf round every Monday morning, and they talk about the Bible and stuff. And that really intrigued me. And I was thinking about that all year. I never went to it last year because I worked on Mondays, but I don't know, it just really stuck with me. Like, that's something that I should do. So when it came around this year for me to bid for my position for next year, I was like, I think I started going to church. So obviously I wanted to have Sundays off, but then I was like, I want to have Mondays off too. Like, I want to be able to, I feel like that's something important that I need to be able to get, is like that fellowship and
big time.
And like, just surround myself with the right people and start to learn things. And so when it came around to bid time this year, I only put in for like the spots that were on the back half. So I would work like Tuesday through Friday.
Yeah.
And, because of that decision that I said I was going to, sacrifice that. And I knew that I had a spot available pretty much. Like, if I wanted to go back on that Monday spot, like it was going to be mine. It was going to be a little iffy because of, I'm on that CERT team. So we have our trainings every other Wednesday. And I knew it was going to be kind of iffy because that's also the day that that team that I was going to try to go on, they leave.
Right.
So I was like, I don't know. But I just felt something really powerful inside me say, like, only put in for those spots, because if it's important to you, like, don't waver. Yeah, so I only put 100%. In for those spots. It didn't work out. I didn't get those spots. So now I'm not on the transport team anymore, but I feel like it's still a right decision. And now, like, I had to go back to working in actual prison somewhere, but I do have now Sunday, Monday, Tuesdays off for sure. So yeah. I'm like, I think that you have to sacrifice some things.
100%. So, and that's kind of what Christianity requires. True Christianity requires of us is to sacrifice. We're supposed to. Christ calls for us to take up our cross every day. That's whatever that is. Sometimes people are dealing with, drug addiction, dealing with alcoholism, dealing with abuse, dealing with things that we can't control internally. We have no way, so we use vices. We use things that try to calm those inner demons, calm those voices that we are always hearing. And Christ is the one true way that can calm those thoughts and those feelings and fulfill us in the way we're needing. But again, it's allowing him to come in and take that control over versus us trying to do it ourselves and fulfill ourselves in a sense. But people aren't willing to give up that faith a lot of times. And that's where there's a difference between, a lot of people say they're Christians, but true Christians put all their faith in Christ themselves versus just saying that they're a Christian, just showing up to church every Sunday and just being I guess a casual Christian. Yeah.
That's something I definitely have to work on right now is just, I go every Sunday, but I had some people give me the Bible and I still haven't read it yet. I need to just like take those first steps and do those things. But,
and for me, I don't go to church on a regular basis for me. And God's not going to require you to go to church on an everyday basis when you stand before him. He's going to ask you, what kind of relationship did you have with me? What kind of person were you through me to other people? Were you a total asshole to everybody else? Did you only think of yourself in certain situations? Were you caring and kindful and hopeful to other people that needed it in a certain time? That's what it's going to come down to. And it's a daily, again, like I said, it's a daily walk. Picking up, the Bible, you don't have to go spend an hour, 2 hours at church service every Sunday to get that fulfillment. You can spend 5-10 minutes in prayer and opening up the Bible in the morning time or at nighttime. And that's all you need for the day. God will talk to you through it, whatever you're dealing with through that certain day. And that consistency, just like you do when you're working out and your body's changed huge and you've gotten stronger, I'm sure, mentally and physically, spiritually, by doing that every single day, you're going to be strengthening yourself as well.
Yeah, like you said, it's just all about putting reps in, right? You got to just keep doing the same thing over and over again. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where it comes back with those vices is having that, people are looking for that instant gratification rather 100%. Than giving it up and taking that temporary pain for the long-term good, the gratitude 100%. That you'll get later on.
Yep. Everybody just wants a quick payday. They want the quick thing, the easy route. They want to take just like Ozempic's a massive thing. They want to take just a pill and not actually put the work behind it and actually getting into shape. People want just to be given things in life. And, that's not how life works. That's not what God created us to do. He created us to work and to learn and to, fail. And that's where a lot of life comes from, is failing as well, too. Getting out there and doing something, failing at it, learning how to do it better, and then you get better and better, just like you said, with reps.
Yeah, you can't have success without failure. Otherwise, if you just want everything, it'd just be nothing. Exactly. Because it's just all...
And then it's just meaningless because then there's no meaning behind the success, right? It was just given to you, so you're like, oh, yeah, it's just another trophy, whatever. Versus right. The blood, sweat, and tears that went into that trophy or that effort or whatever it was that, that got you successful.
Right. So. Yeah, I think it's huge just to be able to take those losses and realize that there's meaning behind them and that there's always a bigger picture behind every loss. And if you can take that loss as an opportunity rather than something that's negative, and you just realize that you have to, it's a necessary thing to have a loss or have pain to have that success, you can reframe those thoughts.
100%. I'm even a testimony to that in itself because I married my high school sweetheart right out of high school. Or I'm not right out of high school, but 8 years thinking that relationship was everything. This is who I'm going to spend 60 years with. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, nowhere, everything ends. My whole life now just comes to a complete screeching halt. And now I have to redetermine myself, what does my life look like? How am I going to find happiness? What does that look like? And again, we don't understand how things work for a reason, but the Lord's blessed me in the sense that I found someone that was far better and that treats me better and loves me for who I am completely and unconditionally. So it's definitely, again, you go through the pain and struggles not knowing how you're going to come out the other end. And, you look back on it and you're like, wow, God is good.
Yeah. One of the guys I had on here said, yeah, you make a plan and God laughs. You know, it's like you think you got it figured out, but you just have to trust the process. I've learned,
100%.
Like ever since I gone on this journey of like changing from being a shitbag to like someone that's actually decent, like I can just look back and think that there was so many things that I had to go through that I thought were going to be the death of me, right? Like you go to the worst thing automatically, like this is it. But then you look back and you're like, man, I had to go to that to get me to this spot, to get me to this spot, to get like, there's so many intricate things that are working that you don't even see. So once you understand that, now when something bad happens, you're like, cool, I know this is going to have a plan.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's a calmness to it now.
100%. And then when I've scrolled through on Facebook, there's an excerpt of a show. I can't remember where it's exactly from, but there's a priest he's in a jury, or he's being questioned like he's being on a jury. And, you know, they ask him a question about God, and he says, you know, I didn't pray for strength. God gave me problems to make me stronger. I prayed for knowledge. God didn't give me knowledge. He gave me things to make me smarter. You know, those are the things we don't really necessarily know what we want, but we have to go through some of those trials and those hardships in order to learn those lessons and to become, you know, who we're supposed to be.
Yeah, it's like, I think it was on, what was that, Bruce Almighty or something? It was like Morgan Freeman. He was talking. And he's like, yeah, if you want courage, he's not just going to give you courage. He's going to give you opportunities to go through times that you have to be courageous.
To show courage, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Because again, that's the only way you're going to build it on your own. It's like you've been saying in the beginning, it's reps. It's doing it again on a consistent basis over and over and over again to build that confidence, to build that strength, you know. So, and again, just like we were talking about with Christianity, a lot of people want to pick up the Bible or do it once a week or go to church on Sundays. It's a daily thing. It needs to be done every single day to be able to spiritually get yourself stronger every day and to deal with things that happen every single day. You have temptations that deal with all the time that you need, especially as a husband and a man. We have things that we have to deal with and make sure we're holding our eyes accountable and ourselves accountable, so that way we're not walking out of line and things like that. So, you know, being a true Christian is not an easy task when it comes to it, and requires us to sacrifice, to take up, you know, crosses and burdens and things, and, you know, maneuver throughout life with it.
What's some of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome?
For me, off the bat, teen parenting. Probably be the biggest one for me.
I think just being a dad in general, man, that's like the hardest job there is, man.
It really is. I mean, being a parent in general is not an easy task, because you're raising another life to, you know, hopefully make good decisions and to be a good human. It's a learning process. You're never going to be perfect at it. You're going to learn from one child to the next, you know, how you can do certain things. And the kids are different as well too. They learn differently. You know, they understand what you're trying to, you know, what you're saying differently than how you said it to someone else. So it's not for the faint of heart, and especially as you get into the teenage years and they start having their own ideas and opinions and, you know, beliefs on what they want. You know, now it's a whole nother dynamic.
I think that was one of the big reasons too I wanted to get into church, was like, because my kids need to have their own set of morals, because they won't always listen to their parents, but they will emulate them. So I need to also make sure that, you know, I'm doing things in the eye of God and things like that. And
it's only going to be a blessing to you to teach them in that same light, though, too. They're going to have respect for the parents. They're going to have, you know, certain, like you said, morals that are how it should be. Again, you know, the U.S. became one of the greatest countries because we had good Christian morals, where we, you know, did the right thing. We were supposed to be doing what we were supposed to be doing, versus nowadays it's gone completely backwards, unfortunately.
Yeah, it has gone backwards. I think right now is like one of the biggest times that it's easier to win if you just like actually try and do the right thing, because there's so much that's going wrong. It's easier for you just to stick out, because it's easy. The easy thing is to just go with the flow and do what everybody else is doing. And like for you to stick out and just go against the grain and you know, like
the Bible says, wide is the path that leads to destruction, and narrow is the path that leads to righteousness. So you're following the path that everybody's going, the nice, easy route. It's going to lead to destruction and hell, unfortunately. And you find that hard, offbeat, narrow path that's not as easy, that's a little bit more difficult. It's going to be more beneficial at the end of the day.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this yesterday when I was at the gym. I was thinking, you know, in like a hunting perspective, when I go hunting and I see, like I park at a trailhead and I see all these boots going a certain direction on like a trailhead, obviously that's going to be an easier path to take. And everybody's taken that. But every time that I've like just got off course and gone, like that's when I start getting into what I'm looking for.
Right.
when I go where everybody else is going, I never see anything.
Right. Exactly.
So it's like if you can just make that correlation and take that over to life, it's like, yeah, I could be doing what everybody else is doing.
Mm-hmm. But it requires, again, sacrifice and trust and a faith in a sense to know that, hey, I'm taking a step off the beaten path. I'm going into the unknown. I'm going into something that isn't comfortable. I got to be able to have the confidence, trust, strength, all that to follow myself into that decision.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest frames that I've thought of too is that if I think that the price of success is too high, wait till I get the bill for regret, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to be on my deathbed thinking, I wish I would have pursued this career in fitness or something.
Nobody on their deathbed ever wished they had more money. Nobody.
Right.
Nobody has ever wished that in their entire lives. And if they are, they're just stupid. Most of the time, you're wishing you spent more time with your loved ones. You wish you would have treated somebody more, with better love or with better care. Those are where your thoughts of regret are going to come in from, is, how you could have treated other people versus the materials and the things that you have, because you can't take them with you at the end of the day. All that's passing away when you go on. You're going to give it on to your kids, your grandkids, or whoever is around. But you cannot take that stuff into the next life with you. You got to take who you are as a person and what you are on the inside. And, you get your whole life figuring that out.
Yeah, man, that's powerful. I think that I obviously read like all these books, and I keep telling, I've probably been like the last 2 or 3 episodes, but I'm like, I read all these books, but I've never read like the actual wisdom book, And it's like, that's got all the answers. So,
well, again, it's a book that's been around for around 2,000 years, right? It's gone through the test of time. No other book has been around for more than 1,000 years. So maybe you have some ancient Sumerian texts that have been around for a long time like that, but your Bible is a 500 eyewitness account testimony of Christ. And the story of the Old Testament beforehand is just, obviously God's creation and all that kind of stuff. But, the true story of Christ and Christianity comes in the New Testament, and learning who Christ was and what he actually did for us on the cross. The fact that he did live a perfect, sinless life, just like you and me did as a human being, got tempted by lust, got tempted by alcohol, got tempted by all these things, said no to all of it, was perfect in his wisdom, got crucified for it, got killed because he supposedly was claiming himself to be God, which he was a rightful claim to claim. They didn't know it at the time, but somebody's claiming to be God. They killed him for it at 33 years old. Now, again, I've done a lot of studying in the philosophies and whatnot, and you do look at different religions, Hinduism, Buddhism, Catholicism, Mormon, all that kind of stuff. All the majority of the religions, you have your main character die, right? They don't come back to life.
Right.
Christianity, Christ comes back to life 3 days later. He's a living testament. He's a living God. And so therefore, when you put your belief and hope into a living God versus somebody that's actually dead, it's a powerful, powerful thing. And he's given you a book or a guide map or a lifeline, basically, to show you what this is, show you what this looks like, and how to do it the best you can. And he's not saying you're going to be perfect. Nobody is going to be perfect, right? But it's how can we be a little bit better each day? How can we get to eventually be like Christ?
Yeah.
So,
have you ever done any of those fellowship golf stuff?
I haven't done them personally myself. I'm obviously there when they're there, and I've listened on them. They're great. I mean, it's great information. It's good. It's great on the aspect of the fellowship. You're around other believers. You're around other guys that believe the same thing. You're actually talking about it, because we're living in a world that's anti-God, anti-Christ now in that sense, because they don't want to hear about this stuff. They don't want to, you're judgmental if you're, you say some of the things that you believe. You know what I mean? So you have to have strength in your own confidence in your own faith in order to kind of combat some of those things.
You sound very knowledgeable about all that, so I was just wondering. Seems like it's like golf, and that's like put those together.
Yeah, I mean, it's for me, it's a passion for me. That's where I find interest, because again, it's something bigger than this world. Humans, we always wonder, where did we come from, and what is our purpose in life? For me, I feel like God and Jesus Christ is that life and that purpose for me being down here. So that way, I have the ability to tell other people about it and whatnot, because not everybody's around here for it.
I think finding a purpose is huge. Once you can find that, then you actually have something like a North Star pushing you where you need to go, instead of just what people think you should be doing. It's internal.
Yeah. And again, that's where I kind of go back to listening to that internal gut, that instinct, that Holy Spirit that's inside of you that's telling you the right thing. That, again, you may not know why you're making the choice that you're making, but you're going off of your instinct of what you're thinking is the best for you. And, again, trusting it as best you can. So,
that's awesome, man.
Yeah. Easier said than done. All this is, again, it's just it's a walk every single day. You got to be willing to, take that first step and try as best you can. And, it's not going to, some days are easier than others, just like I'm sure working out and whatnot. Some days, like you said, easier just to get up and get to the dang gym versus you actually, working out in the gym itself.
Yeah, I'm sure, like, for me, it's just going to, like, the hardest thing is just going to be opening up the Bible, just starting, just start.
Yeah. And then just praying, praying, a lot of praying too, even if you're not necessarily reading, but praying a lot, trying to ask God to give you that time, to allow him to, where can I find this time to be able to be with you on a consistent basis? Where is that? Because if you're willing to dedicate a little bit of time to him, you're going to see a big blessing in your life on the, long run. And that's where, again, a lot of people say, oh, you can not believe in Christ. It's a whole 100% a personal choice. But for the things that I've gone through in my life, especially after my divorce, I had times where I wasn't making ends meet. There was no chance I was making and paying my bills. And all of a sudden, I would get a group of 4 or 5 ladies that would want to do a group lesson. Yeah. All of a sudden, boom, I just got $500-600 in my bank account just by the grace of God. You know what I mean? You don't know how things are going to work out. And all of a sudden, boom, it just works out. And that's where I think the faith comes in, and knowing that somebody above is keeping an eye out for you, wanting the best of your interests, and allowing yourself to trust in that process, even though it's easier said than done.
Yeah, you can have faith, but you still got to be working in the process of it. You can't just sit back. Like, you got to be actively trying. It has to be
an active faith, correct. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just like anything you do in life, you have to be active in it. You can't just sit there and be stagnant and, expect to get gains or whatnot if you're just going to sit around and do nothing.
Yeah, you can't just pray for muscles.
Right. And again, for me, if I want to get better as a golf pro, for me being a PGA, in the PGA and trying to play more events and section events and stuff like that, I have to dedicate more time and practicing more and playing more just so that way I can compete. If you can't expect to get better if you're never going out there to practice or play.
Right.
So something that you got to, again, take into yourself.
Absolutely. What's some upcoming goals you got for yourself? That doesn't have to be golf. It could just be whatever.
Mainly golf for me in the high 60s, or I want to shoot in the 60s. I've been 70 like 4 or 5 times. I haven't gotten into the 60s. It's been at Riverbird, so I've shot 3 under par. So again, it's usually 3 under par is a 69 at most courses, but it's only 70 at Riverbird. So
just to break 70.
70, yep. Just to get in the 60s for sure. And then for me, on a personal note, just trying to talk more about my faith. I think for a long time, I feel like I've not add as much confidence in who I am in Christ in a sense, so kind of shying away and realizing for me it's a choice. I can have how I feel and my opinion about it, and whether you agree with it or not is completely up to you. You get that choice. You get to now take what you feel is right and go study it for yourself. Go find out what you believe and line it up for yourself. And I think the more people that do that with Christ, they're going to find that it actually lines up and it's what they need in their life.
Yeah, I have a buddy that's actually been thinking about like getting some people together once a night or once a week or something, or every other week, and just like everybody that's same believers and wants to talk, and just like a fellowship group of just like gathering for an hour or whatnot and then talking. It's huge. I was like, yeah, man, that'd be cool. I think just the last couple of podcasts I've started talking to some people that I think would be awesome, yourself included. But
again, it's huge to have that fellowship, to have that conversation, because again, these are not common things that you normally can talk about. You can find out some information online, but there's a lot of information online. What is real? What is not real? Again, there's a lot of different quote unquote Christians or things underneath the Christian umbrella, like Mormonism and Catholicism. They're not all the same.
Yeah.
So for you to claim yourself as a Christian, there's a difference, right? So you got to kind of make sure you're doing the right thing and the smart thing about how you're approaching your faith and what you're actually believing in as well too.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's huge. I think that just having a biblical worldview too is something we've been talking about in church lately. But like, because there's a lot of different things that are pushed on as like you need to be accepting of and different things, and
correct.
It's like, well, there's the political worldview and then there's a biblical worldview, and they are not the same.
No, they aren't. And you see how the Lord blessed America back in the 40s and 30s, coming from world wars, because we had a biblical worldview. We believed in, heterosexual marriage. We believed in, waiting and abstaining until marriage before having children, putting country first, taking care of your family. All these things were, a lot more, like you're saying, a biblical worldview versus doing what the individual self wants. And I think that's unfortunately where our world's at now, is that there's so much selfishness and pride going on, that everybody wants to do what they want to do, that it's, hurting everybody else, because we all can't do the same thing. We all can't have what we want, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, I think just, talking one or two people that are close to you and trying to help them out. Like for me, there's a couple of people that I'm trying to help out, and then, you know, maybe they can help their people out. And then if you can just keep, you know, that pay it forward kind of chain, everybody can.
And if, like you said, if you take up your cross and you're being a light to the world the best that you can, other people are going to see that and hopefully come to that same knowledge. And then therefore, like you said, they themselves are the light, and then you just kind of spreads throughout as best you can.
I think that's huge too, is just the best way to help others is to help yourself first. Mm-hmm. Because you can't be helping, like for me, I know when I was thinking about becoming a personal trainer, I was like, well, no one's going to want to listen to me if I'm, you know, a big old chunky boy, right? So like, first things first, I need to get myself in shape. Same thing with, you know, the biblical worldview is like, I need to get all of my ducks in a row first. And then that, I don't even have to really probably talk to anybody. They can just see that things have changed for me since I've made these changes, or they'll ask me like, hey, what's different, you know? And then I can explain to them, but I got to have that proof first.
Correct. Yeah. And it comes with time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be a quick basis. It's just like anything else. It's a process. It's a journey. It's a wearing out. It's a strengthening. It's everything that comes with change, unfortunately. And, you know, sometimes change isn't comfortable. That's, I think, the scariest, again, like kind of what we talked on earlier. It's not comfortable going through change. It's not comfortable going through something we're not used to and stepping out into that unknown, you know, but I do so more so out of having that faith and hope that whatever I am stepping out into is going to be better for me in the future. It is going to, you know, be a positive impact in my life, even though it might be negative and what I'm going through now, it might be a loss, it might be an injury, it might be whatever it is. There's a bigger purpose as to why I'm going through what I'm going through.
Yeah, there's no growth without discomfort.
Correct.
Right? So you got to be able to go through those uncomfortable times, face those uncomfortable moments, realize that something's got to change or nothing's going to change.
And that goes spiritually as well, too. And you have an internal battle like, hey, something inside of me is telling me that this is wrong. You know, that's where you got to stand up for it. Like, hey, you know, for me personally, abortion is wrong. I don't think killing somebody else is the answer. You know, I think we should take measures into abstinence. You know, why don't you be careful with your own body, not, you know, willfully having sex with whoever you want and creating that child instead of punishing that child because of a decision you made. Yeah. But everybody wants to have their own opinions on things. And that's
because like, I don't know the actual statistics, but a lot of people automatically go to like the rape things and incest and obviously there's cases for that, but like
it's such a small percentage.
Such a small percentage that I think
you can't take the smallest percentage and make that as the norm. Right. You know, just like when they say all women's, you know, a woman dying in the hospital or whatever shouldn't be able to get an abortion. Well, yeah, there's certain situations that the mother's life is going to be taken versus the child. But those are, you know, under 5% cases. The vast majority of your abortion cases are Plan B. You know, oh, crap, I got pregnant. Now I just need to take care of it because I'm not responsible. I'm not in a financial place. I don't like the guy I was with or, you know, whatever the case might have been. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it's just gotten so, and again, it can become so sexualized now with, you know, even into the 20th century, it's become, you know, almost like a transaction. It's not anything that was meaningful because it was sacred between a husband and a wife. That's what God created sex for. And so if everybody's just being open and one-on with their bodies, now you got a carelessness within the world. And, you know, again, I don't care about myself. I'm going to show that to everybody else in a sense, right?
Right. Yeah, and I mean, especially for me raising daughters, like that's another part where I need to like make sure that we got, you know, morals intact because in this day and age, you know, it's like, oh, Mom, I'm pregnant, called MTV, you know? It's like...
And that's one nice thing for me being a teen parent. I've been able to, I was right from the very beginning. I've always been super open with sex and, you know, the penis and the vagina with my kids. It's never been you know, a cautious word or we don't say those words because again, if you make it more, you know, intriguing or make it more, you know, a bad thing, then they're going to be more interested in a sense. So for me, it's like, yep, that's a penis, that's a vagina. Yep, don't have sex. You know, that's going to lead to pregnancy. You know, you need to be, you know, again, teaching them the morals and things that you should have prior to doing the actual act itself.
Yeah, because unfortunately it is a different world than when we were growing up. Things are a lot more progressive now and like things are just more normalized than they should be.
It's sad. And I mean, I was flipping through channels and I saw Teen Mom or Teen Parent or whatever came on MTV or whatever. And I remember that first season came out, me and my high school sweetheart, we were going through that same thing. So we were watching that show and just being like, holy crap, we're going through it. But flipping through that channel, I saw they're like, oh yeah, we've only been together for like a couple of weeks, but we had sex on like our third date because, that's just what you're supposed to do.
Right.
It's like, that's the viewpoint of what kids these days have on sex. And it comes from the parents a lot of times too, and not teaching them like, hey, sex again is supposed to be between a man and a woman. You can get pregnant if you have sex. There is a bigger thing that comes with it versus, just having fun in it, feeling good in a sense.
Right. So. Yeah. There's a more meaning behind it than just, Yeah, it's a it's like that uncomfortable thing, but you have to be able to have the openness with your kids, because if they don't feel like they can come and talk to you or be honest with them or anything like that, then they're not going to go to you. And then where are they going to get their information from?
Correct. They're going to go to a friend. They're going to go to the internet. They're going to go to somewhere else that is not necessarily probably giving them the correct information. And therefore now they're going to learn it on their own. And most likely that's a hard lesson to learn.
And the problem with the internet is you can find whatever you want to fit your view.
Yep. In a sense, yeah, you really, really could.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's where I hate journalism nowadays, because, CNN, Fox, all those places, they give you just their viewpoint versus journalism back in the day. It used to be, here's the story. You make up your own opinion on it.
Right.
Now it's all skewed and it's pointed in a certain direction because, hey, we want to make it look like this. Like, that's not how it should be. People should be smart enough to be able to come to their own conclusions based on the true evidence that's presented before them. But, and again, you get back into the whole truthful thing. People aren't truthful with their evidence and all that stuff these days.
Yeah, who would have thought that your election this year would have been everybody would be going to the podcast to get their news. Like the best interview you could get is from a podcaster with the Trump, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah,
you're not going to Fox, CNN, anything like that. You're going to,
because people are not wanting to watch those places anymore. They're not wanting to.
They're not trusted. Yeah.
They're not trusting it. Yeah, there's so much different information coming through the places. They don't know what to believe. And I think that's another hard part. I think in the world today is, we have so much, we're open to so much information. We can look at so much information. It's finding what is real, what isn't real, what is true, what is not true. And that's, again, where I fall back on the Bible, a book that's been around for 2,000 years, that is also, talking about future things that are coming, that I can also say, hey, this is what it's warning of. I'm watching out here. Oh, that just happened. Well, now, again, that just proves more that this thing is real. This thing is true. There is a God that's looking out for me, that is, basically calling the shots.
Yeah, I remember when I was starting to look into the, eventually being my own boss and starting my own business and stuff, I started looking into some other mentors online and things like that. And a lot of them said that the reason that they're successful is because they have a biblical view, because they can make wise decisions for business. They're not just trying to do like the greedy thing, and they're, they're actually thinking about things from what's right in the long run, not just the short. And they all attributed it to they were, religious.
Yep.
And
you can't, there's too much positive information. There's too much positive results from it than there is negative. I mean, you can have your atheists, you can have people that just don't like God, but that's an internal thing I think they have within themselves of a disbelief or, whatever their personal situation is. But God can heal and talk to anybody. Jesus can be with anybody. He sat there and spent majority of his life on this world with prostitutes, with the beggars, with the, sinners of this world. He wasn't out in the churches and the synagogues being with all the religious people. He was out there trying to preach to everybody that he is the way, the truth, and the life. And anybody that believes in him can participate in heaven, basically. But again, it's choosing to believe in it and trusting that faith.
Yeah, that's one of the things we had talked about on the last podcast with, or 2 podcasts ago. But he was telling me, like, God died for everybody. Hitler, he died for serial killers. He died for everybody that sinned. It's not like, because I was having issues with, like, working in a prison, you see some messed up crimes. And I was like, can people actually find God? Because in the prison, you see a lot of people find God in prison. Mm-hmm. He's like, well, it's all in their heart. It's, it's like.
That's why it comes down to, that's where everybody says, oh, you can't be judgmental. Correct. We necessarily as humans can't be judgmental because I can't look into your heart and see, did you actually mean sorry to me when you told me sorry? Yeah. I don't know what you actually felt. God is the only one that can look inside the internal of somebody and inside their heart and know, were they genuine with what they were actually doing? Was that prisoner inside his cell internally sorrowful and repentful and asking for forgiveness, where he's weeping and being like, please forgive me for what I've done? That's a different situation versus somebody being like, oh yeah, I got the Bible and, I'm believing in, God's going to forgive me. There's a completely difference in the two, you know what I mean? So it's internal, how God can judge you in that sense and, how you perceive it.
Yeah, because the way it was explained to me was like, my sins aren't any worse than their sins. Like a sin is a sin. It's not like this one's weighed more than this one. It's like
they're all the same.
Yep. So once I understood that, it was like, oh, wow, yeah, okay, then I have no room to be judgmental.
Nobody.
Like I've done a lot of stuff that's
We
sin,
all fall
so-
short. That's
right.
why, and even just like Jesus says in the story of the prostitute, everybody, they put her down and kneeled her down to stone her to death for having an affair with another married man. And Jesus said, if anybody that cast that first stone be sinless within their life. Nobody could cast a stone because they all had sin in their life. So there's no way, again, he saw that and he said, hey, go sin and no more. He saw through that, forgave her for it, and said, hey, don't be that person anymore. And that's, again, where it comes to the choice. Can we know what we're doing is right or wrong, and do we continue doing that right or wrong? Are we aware of it? You know what I mean? And some people just maybe aren't aware of it as well, too. They're just okay with living in their own bubble, in their own world, and doing their evil things and, stuck in their addictions and all that kind of stuff.
Dang. It's really powerful stuff, man. I appreciate you coming on here.
Oh, of course, man. I appreciate you having me. That's always a good time chatting with you, and I'm glad to do it anytime.
Yeah, it's I was thinking about this today. I was like, unfortunately, we don't talk too much. Most of our talking is through reels on Instagram. So
it's true, about 45 in a row or something like that.
Yeah,
back and forth.
I started like I was like, I'm just gonna count how many we had, and I lost count after like 200 in a month. So I was like, I'm not. It's just all through reels, but it's cool, man. We've we'll go like a year or two without talking to each other, and it's like we're back in the country club again.
Again, that's, I think, a testament to true friendships, right? I mean, us knowing and seeing something inside of each other that connects to each other, and we feel like we can be real, we can be honest, we can have a good hard conversation and know that we are supporting each other. We're not here to bash each other. We're not here to judge each other in a sense, but we're here to support you in whatever you're going through in that sense. You have 3 young kids. I've got 2 older kids. 4 kids, whatever.
Yeah, I got a litter.
You got a litter of them all, and dogs and all that stuff. So, I mean, you got plenty of things going on right now. And I mean, I don't have that going on, but I've done different things in my life that we can kind of account on. And I know for you, one thing for me is I've watched you in your motivation and your dedication. It's been a huge thing for me, and being like, hey, if he can do it, what's saying I can't do it, right? Again, like you're saying, it comes down to you taking that first step and doing it again and again and again and again, and until it becomes a habit. Again, I'm sure it wasn't easy for the first couple of weeks or whatever, until you look back and be like, oh, I just did that for 4 months straight or whatever it was, and
I think whatever it is that you want to do in your life, whether it's losing weight, whether it's finding Christ, whether it's working on your relationship, is like you got to have a reason why, and it's got to be a strong reason why. And I think
everybody does things for what they want to do, right?
Right.
What's important to your life.
And I always think that it has to come back to, it can't be an internal reason, because I can let myself down, and I've let myself down so many times, like on a diet, say.
Yeah.
But once I switch that to like, I'm doing this for my kids, and I need to make sure that they have a good example of how their life should go, because they're only going to emulate what I do. Like that totally changed. So whatever somebody wants to do, they need to make sure that it's a good reason why, and like peel that reason why down like 5 layers, and then figure out.
Well, most of the time when you're doing the reason for you and why, it hurts you, right? Eventually, if you're doing something for you, it's only going to hurt you at the end. Now your why becomes somebody else. You now have more reason to not let them down. You don't, it's not just you failing, it's now you and them failing, right? So it puts, again, in more of a honest in you, in a sense, I guess, to, do more accountability for you to step up and do more what you're wanting to do.
Yeah, they say that like if you have to give your dog a prescription, there's a 90% chance that they're going to finish that prescription than if you were to finish yours.
Yeah.
So it's like when you're caring for someone else, it's going to happen.
Yep.
But when you're caring for yourself, you're not going to finish that prescription or whatever it is,
Exactly. Yeah. And so again, finding it through Christ, finding it through someone else or whoever you can, to help you along in the life. And it shouldn't just be one person. I mean, I think, again, Christ is who the ultimate figure is, because he was perfect in what he's doing, and he transcends this world that we live in. But having other support system, having other people that you can look up to and talk to, and, keep getting that, comfort and support from, as you're going through whatever changing process you're going through, it makes a big difference.
Absolutely. Well, dude, where's a good spot for people to reach out to you if they want to get a lesson or just... riverbirchgolfcourse.net is our website. I have all my information on there. Usually email is the best way to kind of contact me for lessons, just because I have my lesson book on my work desk, and I can kind of, figure everything out from there.
I usually don't do lessons until February or March, typically depending on winter weather, because again, I don't want to give a lesson and have us wait, 2 or 3 weeks, while we have snow on the ground, so you can't get out and practice or something like that. So once weather becomes a little bit more consistent and regular is usually when I like getting out and starting with lessons, and then fire away as long as we can for, the entire season we can.
I highly recommend it, guys. Like I was a high 90s golfer, I think, when I first started, because I had taken a few years off. Once I got out of high school, I didn't golf because it got expensive.
Right.
It wasn't free anymore.
You started working and then basically.
And then I started golfing again. I was like in the 90s, and I got down to like the low 80s, and then just recently you got me to break 80. So highly recommend Damian. He makes everything really easy to understand. Like it's not a whole bunch of things you're working on. It's just little tweaks that make huge differences. So highly recommend it.
No, I appreciate it, man. And that's how I take it as my approach to teaching is simplify it as much as we can. Golf is so difficult. I don't want to make a bunch of changes, make it complex for you. Simplify it, make it easy, make you have more fun, and enjoy the game more.
Yeah. Well, hey man, thanks for sharing your journey. I'm sure we'll get you back on here again. I want to get like a whole room full of golfers and just like shoot the shit. But
heck yeah,
I think that's. It's just cool, like getting that group of people together,
Yeah,
So,
yeah, 100%. I'm down anytime, and appreciate you having me on, buddy.
We'll have to get like a podcast on the course.
Oof, there we go. I like it.
All right, dude. Well, thanks, Damian. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate you, buddy.